Next, we're going to configure the source of user authentication using our client VPN solution. Now, there are many ways to do this. We can create local accounts and users can log on that way. But we want to be more practical and we're going to use Ldap. And that will allow us to use one of our existing servers that's already providing user authentication to our environment. And we'll be using our Active Directory server. To do that, we need to create a Ldap server profile. So make sure that you're under the Device tab. And from there, on the left, under Server Profiles, let's go to Ldap. And here, we're going to go down and click on Add to add a new profile. So we have various information that we need to fill out. But let's quickly reference our diagram to discuss some of the specifics. So this right here in our environment off of the management network, we have our Active Directory server, which is running the Ldap services. So we see the IP address that we will need to input into that particular profile. That's important. Therefore, let's go ahead and move this aside. First, we need to define a descriptive name for this profile, which we will call RH Ldap. Next, we need to specify the details of our Active Directory server. So here, we're going to click on Add. For the server name, it can be anything that you want it to be. We're going to say Server 3. Next, we're going to enter the correct IP address of that server. And that will be .190. Now for the port number, we can do Ldap or Secure Ldap. And we're going to enable Secure Ldap, which is recommended. So make sure that is listening and enabled on that Active Directory server. So that port number will be 636. If you're using regular Ldap, then that would be 389. Just keep that in mind. So for the domain, our domain in our environment is routhub.local. For the type, now there are different types of Ldap, but we're going to select Active Directory. For the base, we're going to define the Ldap string that represents our domain. So that syntax would be DC, routhub, DC local. Okay, next we have is the bind DN. And that's going to be the actual user account used to authenticate for doing Ldap queries. We're going to use our administrator account to keep things simple. So we'll go ahead and type in administrator for the username, @ followed by the domain of routhub.local. And we'll enter the correct password for that administrator account. Great, and we're going to make sure that SSL is checked, which it is, and we're done. Let's go ahead and click on OK to create this Ldap server profile. Okay, so now that profile is listed, and a common question that often comes up is, how can I validate that this is really working? That's really important. How can I confirm that the firewall can do Ldap queries to see what containers exist in our Active Directory server? And doing that is pretty easy. We first need to go to User Identification, which is right up here. Then let's go to the Group Mapping Settings tab. And let's go to Add. So here for Server Profile, we're going to select the Ldap profile that we have just added. Now let's go to Group Include List. Let's go to that tab. And you'll see our Ldap base reflecting our domain of routhub.local. So now we should be able to click here to see all possible containers that exist in that domain. Okay, and now we do see various containers under our domain. And one of them, which is very important to us, is the container of RHG users, which is right here. And that is where all of our user accounts exist. So that means that our firewall is able to do a discovery or to do queries on our Active Directory server. So doing that is a great test to confirm that Ldap is working between our firewall and our Ldap server.